we have two oaths for the two newly elected, or newly appointed members.
Alrighty.
So Attorney Simons will give the oath both to Guy and to Chris.
Individually?
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning. If you would repeat after me, please.
Who did you want to do first?
I'm going to do Chris Pollard first. And I will state the oath and I will simply affirm that I will repeat. Okay. I, Chris Pollard, do hereby solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and the government of the United States and of the state of Florida against all enemies, domestic or foreign, and that I will bear true faith, loyalty, and allegiance to the same, and that I will in all respects observe the provisions of the Charter and ordinances of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, and will faithfully discharge the duties as Planning and Zoning Member for the City of Daytona Beach Shores, on which I am now about to enter, so help me God.
I do.
Mr. President, sign
Yeah, we'll have one.
memorize. Guys, your turn. I, Guy Desai, do hereby solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and the government of the United States and of the state of Florida against all enemies, domestic and foreign, and that I will bear true faith, loyalty, and allegiance to the same, and that I will in all respects observe the provisions of the Charter and ordinances of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, and will faithfully discharge the duties as Planning and Zoning Member for the City of Daytona Beach Shores, on which I am now about to enter, so help me God. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Officially. Well, thank you for that. Now let's, first of all, it's very good to be together it's been a couple months, and see if I remember how to do this, so bear with me. Appreciate it. The minutes, did everybody get to read the minutes from last time? And do I have a motion to pass the minutes from last meeting?
I make a motion to pass the minutes of the last meeting.
A second.
All righty, Sherry, can we do roll call?
Yes, sir. Just, we're going to wait one moment. My computer's trying to
No
tell me
problem.
this.
It's not AI?
I'll go ahead and roll. Mr. Horian?
Here.
No, well, at the
This is for the
meeting.
motion.
Yeah.
I
The
said-
motion for the meeting.
Oh, that was me. I made a motion.
I second it. Go ahead. Vote.
Correct. Now we're going to vote. Mr. Horian?
Yes.
Mr. Desai?
Yes.
Mr. Pollard?
Yes.
Mr. Delange?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
All righty, thank you. So we're gonna start the quasi judicial hearing. And Gwen, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what's going on with the action items?
I would love to. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, board members, good morning. Gwen Herstein, City Planner.
I apologize.
Of course.
You have a slow computer this morning.
Well, then it's in line with staff, I'd say. Sherry, shall I leave it here and not enter into my PowerPoint?
You can go ahead and.
Okay.
Great.
Good morning again, Gwen Herstein, City Planner. And to our our reaffirmed board members, congratulations. Ordinance 2026-01 it amends the Land Development Code by creating a definition for wine bistro, clarifying it as a restaurant, and adding it to the GC2 Retail Service Commercial District. By clarifying the wine bistro as a restaurant, it allows outdoor dining as a conditional use. You will have noticed in your packet that we did that, and we also offered this definition for what a wine bistro is, which is basically a restaurant offering a wine selection of curated wines for consumption on premises and also sales, retail sales. of those. And with the wine, curated food pairings, education regarding those pairings, and the wines from formally trained staff, and as I said, the retail sale of wine. The other thing that Ordinance 2026-01 does is add Wine Bistro to the GC2 Retail Service Commercial District. There were previously 11 permitted principal uses in GC2, and this would be the 12th of those uses. Just to show you a little bit, this is a zoning map which loosely shows where the GC2, the two GC2 districts are within the city. You're looking at a map that starts above the midpoint of the city and goes all the way down to 3875, which is our southernmost property in the city. The two boxes are around the two GC2 districts. Obviously, not everything within those boxes are GC2. That is, the GC2 is mainly along A1A on the west side, always on the west side. And there are two districts, and I will point out that in between those two boxes is a GC1 district. That's where most of the GC1, which is tourist-oriented commercial, is located. And one thing that I'll point out, because we'll be talking about that a little bit more in a minute, is that GC1 allows a tavern, whereas GC, which is defined in our code similarly to a bar, or as a bar, GC2 does not allow tavern bar uses. And GCRD, which we'll be talking about a little bit more in a moment, is our third of 3 commercial districts, and that district additionally does not allow taverns and bars.
I have a question, Gwen.
Absolutely.
Having said that, where does Yaya fall into?
Yaya's is a legal non-conforming use, good question. It is in the GC2 district, which is the district that we're talking about adding the Wine Bistro to initially, and it has been a grandfathered use. It's been there for quite some time,
Okay.
before these zoning guidelines were put in place.
All right.
Basically, this ordinance is consistent with the Land Development Code and its intents and purposes, our comprehensive plan, and also our economic goals as stated in the 2019 strategic plan that was approved. Staff has fully reviewed this ordinance, and that includes the Community Services Department with the building official, the Public Safety Department, and also our legal team. Staff is requesting that the Planning and Zoning Board recommends approval of this ordinance 2026-01 with the following additional recommendations requested. And I did hand you a highlighted version of this ordinance with some additional changes that the staff is recommending and also requesting that you recommend to the City Commission to approve. Unfortunately, some of the changes that were intended initially were not included in the title of the ordinance, which I'm about to show you in a second. It's that big block of text that always falls on the first page. And when you don't include something in the title, you're not able to make those changes later on in the document. So I appreciate your patience with me this morning, but I'd like to go through those changes as this morning will be the first time that you're seeing them. This is the GCRD district, the third of our zoning, commercial zoning districts that we talked about a minute ago. This is the north end of town. The top of the maroon box is 1901, the top and the northernmost property of our city. And along the west side of A1A, all of the maroon colored properties are zoned GCRD. And it stays and does not extend beyond this area, which the bottom of the box just barely includes Florida Shores Boulevard. Key Colony is just south of that. You'll notice that there are a couple little pink dots just west of some of those GCRD, General Commercial Redevelopment District. Those are actually GC1 properties and were zoned that way some time ago to allow for an expansion, which we hoped and continue to hope will occur in that area, to allow for possibly properties to be joined together for larger commercial projects. So those are not, those are also GC1, in addition to the block that I showed you earlier. I'd like to go through those highlighted portions of the ordinance that I gave you. Please stop me if you would like to set on any slide or ask questions about it. Of course, you can always ask questions at the end, but I'm inviting you to, if something doesn't make sense, to stop me right then when we're looking at it too, at your discretion. So the part that's highlighted, basically, this is the title that you'll see on page 1 of 6 of that 2026-01 ordinance that I handed you. And you'll see what that's doing is adding to the title that we're also amending section 14, or we would like to amend section 14-31.1, entitled GCRD, the General Commercial Redevelopment District, by amending the permitted principal uses to add wine bistro as a permitted principal use. So GC1 will continue to have bars and taverns. GCRD and GC2 will have this new wine bistro use, if this ordinance is approved. The next set of changes, we added another whereas clause to take care of the fact that we were including or intend to include the GCRD district addition for a permitted principal use, and that's what the 2 whereas clauses below do. They allow us to add that wine bistro. Basically, the whereas clauses, we're supporting what we're about to change, and so that's what, I apologize for what I just said, but that's what these whereas clauses are doing. They're offering support for the changes that we're proposing within the ordinance. So we did have to add some additions to whereas clauses in order to fully support properly adding the GCRD district in addition to the GC2, the one bistro. Section 4, none of these are actually changes, but I did want to include for you and do intend to ask approval for us adding the wine bistro to GCRD. And so this page is basically highlighted with no changes, but after number 7 of the permitted uses at the bottom, we'll go to the next page, which is adding the wine bistro as number 17 and bumping the telecommunication towers and antennas down 1. The last of these changes were simply cleaning up the codification, the section numbers, because we did add a section to add the GCRD district.
Understood.
Again, we talked about consistency previously with the changes that had already been proposed in your packet. These additional inclusions are also consistent with the Land Development Code, with the city's comprehensive plan, and with our strategic plan. Again, these changes, these additional inclusions have also been approved by the Community Services Department staff, Public Safety Department, and our legal team. So staff is recommending, we're suggesting, recommending, and requesting, all of those things, that the Planning and Zoning Board recommend approval of this ordinance as presented and including the additional changes as we've just discussed. We're recommending approval as it carries forward to the City Commission. What kinds of questions do you have? I appreciate your patience with that.
Thank you, Gwen. Thank you for always having a thorough presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Explained it very well. The terminology of the different establishments, you know, professional and business office, retail stores, that wording, is that unique for the city, the county, or the state, or are we following any other guideline versus, or just our own city guidelines?
So when the land development code, and most of these were in place when the land development code was established in 1991, and when we adopted our own land development code, we did so by looking, I believe, at a lot of other municipalities' land development codes, looking at best practices, and then also looking at the makeup of our neighborhoods in our city and tailoring those to fit and match neighborhoods. As an example, I spoke about GC1 being a tourist-oriented commercial district. It is different in makeup from some of the areas of GC2 and also GCRD in that, but especially GC2, it's very different in that a lot of the GC1 properties are through properties, meaning they have a street behind them, so a street on the east side in front, and then another smaller street, not a South Atlantic, obviously South Atlantic was in front, and then a smaller street many times on the rear side of the property, which means that there's separation from the backside of a lot of GC1 properties before they abut residential. GC2 is very different in many areas in that it abuts directly to residential, so it's got a different quality to those neighborhoods, and what you allow through these principal uses and permitted uses has the ability to impact those directly abutting neighborhood residential properties more. So when this type of list is initially implemented in 1991 and then added to, those are all things that staff looks at and weighs in deciding what should be added to that list. We probably did look at other cities, like I said, but we also looked at the nature of the way that our city is constructed and the characteristics of our individual areas. Does that answer your question?
Very much so, thank you. I'd like that explanation. I had no idea that we had an extra street and that made the difference.
It's not true for every GC1 property, but in a lot of areas, that's true.
Thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Making this change, okay, is that going to impact traffic coming to that specific location?
Traffic is something that we do consider.
I'm really more interested in the limited parking spaces at that location. If we open it to more business, how is that going to?
So most of our GC2 properties and buildings and storefronts are currently occupied. That's not, which means that a wine bistro coming into a GC2 property is likely replacing a business that was there before. In the case of 101 Dunlawton, who was the requester for this use to be added, she already has a business in place there, and this would be an addition to that business.
Right, but the difference is there's going to be more people coming to have a drink versus somebody coming in to buy a bottle.
And for the parking on each property, that's considered. For the traffic as a whole, you notice that that our request is to also add this to the GCRD district. We would welcome more businesses to come into that GCRD district as we have a lot of vacant storefronts. So we have evaluated that. We are currently not fully utilizing the traffic that we can accommodate in that northwest quadrant of our city based on those vacant buildings. So we hope to achieve even to the level that we can accommodate. We're currently not doing that.
Thank you.
The difference between a wine bistro and a bar.
So a bar does not have limitations about, I'm putting the definition up of a wine bistro at the bottom of the screen. A bar does not have limitations about the amount of food that it serves. It can be strictly alcohol, wine, beer, and/or liquor. A wine bistro is very specifically tailored to only being offering wine. If they have beer options that they also want to offer, they can as part of the license that they have to obtain, but they cannot serve it for consumption on premises. They could sell it as part of their offerings for retail, but they cannot serve that, open that and serve it for consumption on premises. So that's a huge difference. We also, with the ordinance that we're about to talk about, we are also clarifying the distinction that a bar currently cannot offer outdoor dining unless it's 50% of its food, 50% of its sales are through food as opposed to alcohol. Wine Bistro is going to be held to the same standard, and restaurants are held to that standard too. So the difference between this and a bar or this and a restaurant, is that, which was your question, or both?
Both.
Both. So the Wine Bistro offers the wine sales, can offer beer sales for retail. It offers it at retail. It expands that retail to allow consumption on premises. And with curated food pairings, basically, and the component for the education from the formally trained staff. It's very different. Its nature is very different from a bar. It's not billed as, in any way, a place that you're going to go and over imbibe, or imbibe even as being the primary purpose for you being there. It's an education component. It's a putting food together with it that pairs and talking about that, but not a bar in the sense of let's go and just drink alcohol.
So the Red Lobster was okay, because you could drink outside when they had seats outside.
They actually never applied for an outdoor dining conditional use permit. They knew that that was an option for them, but they used that as staging people who were waiting. They had waiting spaces both inside, and then they utilized the outside for that too.
And Eagles is protected because it's a private club?
It is a private club. It's also, it was there predating many of our land development code.
They're grandfathered in.
What's that?
They're grandfathered in?
Yes, sir.
Just for clarification purpose, the state liquor license, there is listed, there's a different one for wine and versus hard liquors, and there are different levels.
Wine and beer is traditionally lumped together, and that's what will allow a wine bistro, should they want to sell curated beer selection, packaging sales, closed bottle sales, they could do that, but they're not, through this definition, able to serve on premises. And that was a thoughtfully, we talked a lot about it as staff, about the nature of having a tap room in addition to a wine bistro. Would that be something that was desired? They're very different typically in the way that they're utilized, and people who come to enjoy them, in that different in amount of beverages served. Typically, I don't have exact numbers for you, but they are generally used in different ways. And again, these are properties, many of which are directly abutting residential, the backside of residential single-family homes. And so wine service and consumption on premises we viewed as a less intense, certainly less intense than a bar, and also less intense than even a tap room.
So Dunes, which is not in our city, but Dunes is considered a tap room?
I actually have not partaken. Can you describe it to me? Do they have beers on tap?
The Dunes beer that's right next to the dairy place, and it backs up to residential right there in Port Orange. So across the street, 2 establishments later, you have Dunes. And I was just wondering how Dunes is marked? Is it a tap room? Is it, I'm interested to find
I
out.
haven't dived into Port Orange's codes, but again, this request that was made to us and that we are attempting to accommodate, because the city desires this type of use, specifically the wine bistro type of use, we tailored it toward that as a less intense than a tap room or a bar use.
Would make sense.
I assume they have the appropriate license, state license to do this.
Well, again, a state license that they had for retail sales is insufficient to allow consumption on premises. That is a different license, but generally, the wine license also includes the beer, which will allow them to serve, not to serve for consumption on premises beer, but to retail sell beer if they so choose. So there is some overlap, we understand, between the characteristics that are considered with organic wines and bio, I'm not going to remember the word, I apologize, but basically bio-responsible and ecologically responsible growth of different products. There is some overlap between doing that with wine and also doing it with beer.
They're not selling marijuana still, are they?
Oh,
That business was closed.
What?
Was closed. A different
Yeah.
group of
Yeah.
different owner, different everything.
Like in Amsterdam.
Trying to make that a one-stop shop.
What, Amsterdam?
any other questions for Gwen? I would like, just out of curiosity, to find out how Dunes is listed in Port Orange, because I know it's two establishments next to this, and it's just curiosity, and it makes sense. The common person does not really see the borders between the two cities. All they see is a couple of establishments, and we're right next, near each other. So I was just curious to find out. So-
Mr. Chair, Director Cruz has informed me that it's a microbrewery.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Well informed.
Yeah. All righty. Is there any more questions? Is there a motion?
I move to recommend the approval of ordinance 2026-01 with the amendments that were made.
Second.
Thank you. Jerry, do you have roll call on that?
We can do it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I'm not gonna write on that. That's first.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. These items are action items. They are not quasi-judicial.
Okay, thank you.
There's an important difference.
Yes. Well, appreciate it.
I don't know who this lady is or what she's doing.
All right. Gwen, thank you.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and board members. Again, Gwen Kirstein, City of Daytona Beach Shores. City planner. Ordinance 2026-02 amends the Land Development Code by streamlining the application, approval, and renewal process for certain outdoor dining conditional uses by doing the following. I'd like to go through these briefly with you, and again, stop me please if you have any questions. These were the changes that were included in your packet and already considered within the code and the staff analysis. The top, you'll see the changes were emboldened a little bit so that we can look right at them as opposed to sifting through, but Wine Bistro being added and clarified that it can have an outdoor dining component to it. The bottom, notice, review, and approval. Currently, there is an administrative approval process for outdoor dining, conditional use, and a non-administrative process, which includes coming before this body, and then also going before the city commission. The administrative process is much more, it's cheaper, it's more simplified, it does not come with a public notice component, which the non-administrative process does. It's more expensive, it takes longer, et cetera. For the administrative approval process, currently you must stay at 6 tables or fewer and 25 tables or fewer, or 25 seats or fewer to qualify for that administrative approval process. One of the proposals that we're making here is by expanding 25 to 28. It's a small change, but it does allow a little bit more flexibility. Maybe you have a 6-top table instead of a 4-top table by the addition of those seats.
You can, what was Millie's approval? Was it for, because Millie's Restaurant, that we approved it a couple of years ago, it's been a while, I think it was 20. How many, I'm trying to associate our existing restaurant with what's on the table here, and I believe that falls into the same category, does it not? Millie's Restaurant?
It would be the restaurant component as opposed to the
Outside dining.
the wine bistro, but outdoor dining, conditional use for that, unless it was a development agreement. And I think that Stuart, if he's still watching and
Yeah.
hanging in there with us, is going to be able to weigh in on that. So I'm going to bypass your question just for a second, in case he does decide to weigh in.
I just want to have association in my head to make sure.
Absolutely. Currently, the outdoor dining locations that have been approved, Shawarma has been approved for outdoor dining. That's in the 2500 block in the GCRD district. And the other is Mulligan's, which this body got a chance to look at and make recommendations for. And that was the Shawarma was an administrative approval. For fewer seats than 6 or fewer tables than 6 and fewer seats than 25. And Mulligan's was a non-administrative approval. So that's why it came before this board and then ultimately went to city commission. They also have a bar in addition to their seats, like a counter, not a bar, but a counter. And then they have seats around their fire pit. So they wanted more seats than could be dealt with by the administrative process. And Sherry, if he does respond.
Could you please repeat the question for Stuart?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
No, Millie's Restaurant, the outside dining area that we approved, I believe, in 2020, what is it that falls under the same classification as we're looking at right now? Under 25 seats, and how many tables? I think it was what?
6 tables
Yeah.
and 25 seats is
Yeah.
the
limit.
threshold for administrative approval. Above either 6 tables or 25 seats currently triggers the non-administrative process. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're proposing to give 3 more seats. It's not an earth-shattering change, but it could allow additional flexibility for business wanting to utilize the outdoor dining. There was a time limitation. Outdoor dining conditional uses were approved for a year, and then an application had to be made to, not the full reapplication, but a request made to the city manager, and then payment of an additional fee, $110 was the renewal fee. And it was suggested that could be something that we could waive. The initial setup of an outdoor dining spot anywhere, whether it's administrative or non-administrative, is very intense because there are so many requirements, and it is a bit of a back and forth. This requirement hasn't been met. Let me know how you plan to address that. Let me know how you plan to address landscaping, for example. It's a time-intense setup, but renewals unless they're attempting to change things, are not intense like that. And so we feel that waiving that fee, which we're going to get to in just a second, is appropriate and could offer additional people an incentive to offer outdoor dining. So we propose to remove this, and in its place, and this change was on pages 3 and 4 of that 8-page ordinance, we propose to do an automatic renewal, and that means no fee. It means that if you have passed your annual fire inspection and have addressed and/or have addressed any items that were identified as deficiencies, if your business tax receipt is current, and if you also go through and meet the terms of all of the terms of a checklist that you submitted in the beginning of the process, then you automatically renew. If you do not meet those terms, let's say you've either added something, an additional table that you weren't approved for, you have the option of either going through and requesting an additional approval, a new approval basically, or you can fix those items, you have 3 months to do that, and then your outdoor dining would renew once you became compliant with those items.
Who is going to check on that, though? Say somebody decides to add 4 tables. Is somebody going to go around and say, okay, you know?
Because we're a small city, we do see a lot of those things as they occur, but not relying on that, the creation of this checklist is going to be a part of this process. It actually streamlines in another place in this code. It's actually called out and mentioned. We will use that same checklist, and that's staff will use that same checklist when it's time for renewal to take place, and we'll stand and go right down at the site and identify any issues that are inconsistent with what the terms and requirements were for the conditional use.
So somebody from the staff will actually go.
Somebody from the staff will go, but I don't anticipate, because we see things as they occur, it's generally not going to occur at the 1-year mark, but we'll.
And you're leaving it by chance if you know.
Somebody from staff will absolutely go. And we'll keep that in the file,
Okay.
that they either had a deficiency that we need to go back out and relook at, or that everything has been kept consistent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Submission requirements, if you look at what was crossed out, this change really just attempted to clarify and maybe put it in an order that was a little bit easier to digest. What I found is that for many of these outdoor dining conditional use permits, this is something that gets handed to the manager, or maybe not the general manager, but even a dining room manager to fulfill with the property owner's signature in places. But it's not always a layperson, and it certainly doesn't have to be a layperson, but in many cases it is a layperson going through these requirements. So this particular change was an attempt to clarify and make a little bit, give it a way to be digested more easily by a layperson and/or someone else who's completing the application, like a professional. It won't hurt them either. But that was the entire purpose of this change. Again, wine bistro, I had mentioned before, but the top portion of this code, section A, subsection A, 4A, you cannot utilize the outdoor dining component unless half of your sales comes from either food or the retail component that you offer. And so this just clarifies that a wine bistro is allowed to do that as well. The bottom section, the bottom section has always been, but again, we're just adding wine bistro to it. You cannot have a restaurant that's 1,000 square feet and an outdoor dining component that's 2,000 square feet. If you have a restaurant that's 1,000 square feet, you're limited to 500 square feet for the outdoor dining component.
Just a suggestion, Gwen.
Of course.
In the past, when we had Casual Bird or the butt putt place, what's the name of the? Mulligan's, they had very specific drawings to indicate where the outside tables were gonna be, where the setup was gonna be, and we don't see that here. I'm just having a little difficulty envisioning where they're going to put, because if it's not gonna impede the parking, and it can't impede the sidewalk, and we have all the restrictions very well written and clear, I'm having a difficulty in my mind, where are they gonna put the outside dining? And it would be very helpful if they would have had a drawing of the setup in order to help us
Absolutely.
visualize.
Staff agrees with you 100%. I went back 2 slides so that we could talk a little bit more about the one that we were just describing with the submission requirements being clarified. Let's talk more specifically about what's taken out and then how it's restated. We're not taking away that component. It's absolutely essential for life safety. We don't want you to be abutting a parking spot that is going to be utilized by a vehicle with diners sitting 2 feet away, 100%. We don't want you to be sitting in the right-of-way on the sidewalk. So absolutely, that's essential. If you'll look at what was crossed out, floor plan, and this is about halfway through, this code, floor plan, building elevation, fire hydrants, setbacks, location of refuse containers, layout of all tables, chairs, and other furniture, nearby utilities, and pedestrian ingress and egress, a dimensioned sketch of the seating area, and photographs, drawings, etc. So that becomes, at the top, a sketch of the outdoor seating area depicting all outdoor furniture and its dimensions from nearby property lines, buildings, parking spaces, driveways, utility service points, including fire hydrants, proposed screening or buffering, outdoor lighting and signage, and any fixtures related to the outdoor dining. We're not taking that away. We're just restating it in that paragraph to be a little bit more digestible by a layperson.
Excuse me, if I may. First of all, Millie's is falling under that classification.
Okay.
And secondly, the director wanted you to know, this is not an application for outdoor dining.
No.
This is just a change to the code.
Yeah.
And that's why you're not seeing any seating plan or drawings.
I was just wondering where Millie fell in that.
But Millie's would qualify.
Okay, thank you.
And you had also mentioned Casual Bird. Casual Bird was approved through a development agreement. It was a separate process. Did I answer your question in that
Well,
we're
yeah,
not removing, we still want the sketch, that's
Exactly.
vital. But we're clarifying that, folks, you can put it on one sketch. You don't have to address each of these components separately. You can put it on one sketch, but we need every dimension that I've listed there in a row.
I think, Chuck's mention of, trying to visualize where exactly it would be, it'll be helpful in impeding traffic and proper parking spaces. It would just be nice for the board to see that.
Always. And it's essential for staff, too. We can't properly review an application without that component. We're definitely not removing that component.
All right, thank you.
And with the renewal, that checklist, that's on the checklist, it's part of what we're looking at when we go back out. So in addition to having had it set up that way, it's at the minimum an annual chance to look again and correct if anything was deficient or changed.
Misappropriated, yeah. Great.
Which is an improvement from before. Before, they submitted a letter of request and a check. So this is less intense on the property owner and the tenant. In that they don't have to submit paperwork, but instead they have to keep their property maintained in a number of ways. It's a better possible overall outcome, but takes away the administrative component from the outdoor dining owner. So we were talking about this particular J, which is on page 5 of 8. Currently, if you have an outdoor dining space of less than 100 square feet, your parking component does not have to be considered. Meaning you don't have to demonstrate how you're going to meet an additional parking need. So we've expanded it just a little, but also qualified it at the same time, saying up to 150 square feet, but no more than 12 seats, you can enjoy that same ability to not have to provide us with your parking requirements, to have us go through in detail, oh no, you don't have, you're missing one parking space to be allowed to do this. And there are a lot of reasons that we think this is acceptable. It's not a huge change, but it is what I would call an easing. There's a lot of ride sharing that happens. I, for one, when I say ride sharing, I mean like Lyft and
Uber.
Uber, thank you very much, appreciate it. That happens, especially if I've gone to a place and it was very hard to park there. That's a candidate for me, in my mind, the next time I go, to possibly utilize one of those services as opposed to trying to fight and find parking. But this is a small area, but a slight easing, a slight change. If you try to pull into a place and all the parking is full, you may say to yourself, that's not where I'm gonna go. But having that seating outside does a lot of things for, potentially for the business. I have been told at times by some businesses that especially newer restaurants, that not having a banner drastically changes whether people are coming in to try their business or not. Having outdoor dining is the potential to have a banner all the time, but in an attractive, approved way. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is a slight easing and a clarification. There was not a seat max listed before with this, and we're saying a little bit bigger, but no more than 12 seats. The bottom portion of that, for any change to what was approved, whether it was administrative or non-administrative, triggers, at the current time, it triggers and requires brand new approval, brand new application and approval for it. We have added the component that if it's a small enough change, if it's what we would call de minimis as a change, that it can be just agreed upon by the city manager or designated at the staff level, that it does not trigger that kind of approval. Again, for consistency review, it meets the requirements of our land development code, this ordinance does, of our comprehensive plan, and of our 2019 strategic plan. And staff has fully reviewed this, and that includes the Community Services Department, Public Safety Department, and our legal team, and is in support. Staff is requesting that the Planning and Zoning Board recommend approval of this ordinance with the following additional recommendations as requested, and this is where that highlighted ordinance 2026-02 that I handed you before the meeting comes in. And I do appreciate your patience this morning. Let's look at those briefly. This is the title of 2026-02. What we're adding here is to streamline and clarify the application and approval of process requirements for conditional uses generally. So previously, the ordinance only contemplated streamlining approval for the outdoor dining conditional use. But we also have looked at the general conditional use requirements and see some ways that we can simplify, clarify, and streamline that. And that's what we're attempting to do through these changes. There are fewer than the last one, so hopefully this is amenable. Page 3 of 11 of the packet, the new ordinance that I handed you. Before, we required that a written statement specifically addressing the general requirement of the use, the proposed use, and stating how the application is asserted to meet those requirements was something that an applicant needed to provide. It's asking a lot, and unfortunately what we received many times was a simple letter saying we'll meet all the requirements. It wasn't causing a thorough step-by-step evaluation and how we're going to meet an analysis from an applicant. We propose through this change that instead the owner and applicant sign a proposed, or sign a checklist, which has all of those requirements listed, and they have to go through and then sign and notarize. So it's easing for the applicant, but it's also at the same time going to help make sure that they're aware of each of these requirements, because currently there are some requirements in the general, then there are some requirements that need to be met in the outdoor dining, specifically the outdoor dining code. And so this will streamline it and just put everything in a way that's very transparent, that needs to be met. So we think that's an improvement.
And I like how thorough you were in specifics, you know, closing at 10 p.m., making sure the lighting, you know, is turned off at that time, and the music, and the furniture being kept in good condition. All that was detailed in that, so I appreciate that, because that was some of my concerns and questions, and you've answered them in the evaluation.
And while I appreciate the thanks, those were already part of this code.
Okay.
And were implemented when it was written. We're not proposing to change the times that an outdoor dining use is allowed, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. There's no change to that. So there are a number of things that were already absolutely spot on and appropriate about this code. We just looked for ways that we could tweak it, make it simpler, more clear for the person applying. And ultimately for the city too, it helps us. Anytime that we can be simple and clear, it helps us in the long run as staff. No conditional use activity. This is a clarification, basically saying that without obtaining approval, you cannot be utilizing the outdoor dining component, that you have to receive approval for it, whether it's administrative or non-administrative. So that's just a clarification. Again, another clarification. It was just a verbiage change, but it helps to be more clear. This is a change on, or two changes on page 5 of 11. It's clarifying what a withdrawal of approval means and what it requires from an applicant. So a clarification there. And then some renumbering at the bottom. So from those changes that were proposed, the additional inclusions, the main change that is streamlining in this, in addition to clarifications in other parts of this highlighted verbiage, the main change is giving them a checklist to go through and actively agree to, as opposed to asking them to demonstrate how their project is going to meet every single requirement. So it's a small change, but I think will be very helpful for everyone involved. The additional inclusions do meet the Land Development Code requirements, the comprehensive plan and the strategic plan. We did receive staff support again for these additional inclusions from the Community Services Department, Public Safety Department, and our legal team. And staff is suggesting that the Planning and Zoning Board recommend approval of Ordinance 2026-01 as presented, including the additional changes. 2. Thank you very much. Thank you. It is 2026-02. I would like to request one additional recommended change, and that is at one point in this code, a slide that we stopped on for a bit, removed some requirements and then restated them. One thing that was not restated well and should be adjusted is that the requirement that that commercial grade furniture be utilized as opposed to something picked up at Walmart and plunked in, you know, those really light chairs that flop over with a 5-mile-an-hour wind. We required before, and I'd like to continue to require, that commercial grade tables and chairs, any equipment that they use for their outdoor dining, be utilized.
So just to be specific of what you said on page 8N, all outdoor dining elements, including but not limited to furniture and accessories, shall be uniform design and style. You want to expand?
I would like to revert to the original, let me find this slide exactly so that we can look at it.
We have to define commercial grade, too.
Yeah.
This is,
Wait.
and that's certainly something that we can do. We didn't want to be too difficult. We're not trying to make things more difficult, but we didn't want to remove that component because it's essential to having an attractive space that doesn't have chairs flopping over all the time because they weigh 1.5 pounds and blow over in a breeze, like a chair that you might grab for $10 at Walmart. No offense to Walmart.
No.
But I'd like to add that component back in to make sure that that's not taken away, and I'd like your
Define
recommendation.
commercial grade.
What's that?
I still think you should define commercial grade, because commercial grade to you might be something, commercial grade to me might be the one I rent out on the beach.
Understood, and absolutely. If that's the recommendation, then I think that it's appropriate to include.
Alrighty.
I have one other question, Gwen.
Absolutely.
Page 3,
Page 3.
paragraph 3,
Is this of the highlighted language or the earlier
the
language?
highlighted language.
Okay.
Page 3, paragraph 3. You hear that?
No. Page 3,
Paragraph 3.
yes.
Highlighted. That gives a lot of power to the city manager.
Typically, this is by the designee, but it is a way to put a final veto power to it, if you will. And this was in place before. The city manager or designee shall review and administratively approve conditional use applications. That was already the language in the code. We've just clarified a little bit.
In today's political system, if the city manager doesn't like you, or if the city manager likes you, you know,
That's it, neat.
that could favor his position one way or the other. Was if maybe you had 3 people doing it, like staff and the city manager, that might give him more credence to legitimacy.
The city manager is, in the time that I have been with the city, and especially in this role, the city manager is never the sole reviewer of an application such as this.
But it says that.
Or
It says,
designee.
or designee.
Well.
Okay,
because
are you recommending something particularly?
I would
to
think
ease
I think you ought to consider at least 3 people making that decision rather than just one. Because you can designee somebody. That's just my suggestion. Just get away from favoritism.
Okay, I understand what you're asking.
Other than that, this is a fantastic thing.
So what you're recommending is to indicate staff shall have the authority, or
City manager and staff.
A minimum of 3.
That would be my recommendation. Whether you follow or not is up to you, but
well,
with
I'm sure
day of favoritism-
legal will view that and touch it up and give some suggestion exactly the wording.
will legal do that?
Yes, we can take a look at any amendments to the ordinance for
All right.
the council.
I don't want anybody coming back and saying somebody did favoritism to somebody, which seems to be popular today.
Making the statement is popular. I absolutely, I feel like we have something special here. But you're right, putting it in the code and making it clear is never a bad thing.
Any other comments?
How does that impact the vote right now? Making that addition that was illegal.
Staff is accepting that we will make that change as well, in addition to the other that you requested, which was defining the commercial grade component. And if it's acceptable to the board that be included, then you're in a position to recommend approval of all of these changes.
With the conditions that were discussed.
Correct.
So that's what we need to say, with the conditions that were discussed and approved.
The amendments and the discussions.
All right.
Mr. Chair, just from the director, this is standard language in most all land development codes, and it is done to create expediency and efficiency in the approval process. Having just the CM or the designee as it's been for years.
Understood. All right. Any other questions or concerns?
May I just state that by our director saying that, I believe he's saying that this language, as it exists currently, is standard planning practice to include in exactly this way. So I think I'd ask that everybody look at it additionally to find out whether your recommendation includes clarifying that specifically, or whether you accept that that's standard language and find the language acceptable.
I think we, depending on our yes or no vote, will be that, it will take that into consideration.
Well, I guess that we would need your recommendation to include whether you're requiring that this portion on page 3 of 11 be clarified further as discussed, or whether you're allowing it to be approving or recommending that it be accepted the way that it currently reads.
Okay, so
So Mr. Lilly made a
Yeah.
suggestion, and
you indicated that you were gonna consider it and look into it.
Yes, but
And that's
I
what
don't-
you said, your consideration to look into it. We're not saying we're not gonna approve it unless it's changed. So as long as we get your looking into the situation, correct?
Mr. Chair,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, whoever makes the motion,
Yeah.
they need to include whether they want 3 or more staff members or not, and we'll go with that.
Okay, not general as far as discussions, be specific. All righty? Everybody understood? No, any need for clarification or other questions? So, do we have a motion for ordinance 2026-02? And please be specific. Any motion?
Move to recommend approval of ordinance 2026-02 with the following amendments as stated.
So as stated. All right, is there a second on that?
Second.
All right, Mary, can we have a vote?
Mr. Horgan?
Yes.
Mr. Desai?
Yes.
Mr. Pollard?
Yes.
Mr. Lange?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Motion passes with recommendations as staff has presented today.
All righty, thank you.
Thanks, Gwen. Good
Thank you.
job.
I appreciate your patience.
Oh, no, thank you. This, I know it's difficult after so many months of not being together and putting everything together. We appreciate everything the staff does. Now, under the next portion of the meeting, the 2025 Contingency Management Report, are you presenting that?
The concurrency report, I'm not presenting at this time. At the next meeting, which will be on March 9th, it will be either Director Cruz or myself presenting that.
Okay.
Thank you. Which brings us to item B.
Okay, so it is time to nominate a new chair. So if anyone wants to offer up a nomination, you can nominate yourself as well.
Someone has to say something.
Well, I nominate Rick.
Second.
How about vice chair?
Hold on, 1 second, please.
All right.
And you want to do one motion at a time?
All right.
So we'll finish the nominations and before moving on to vice chair.
So Mr. Lilly computer's not agreeing with me today, so are there any other nominations for chair? Okay, that closes. I'm going to call a vote. All in favor of Mr. DeLonge as chair, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we'll now accept nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Chuck.
I second that.
Any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, all in favor of Mr. Horian for vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
You guys are next.
Okay, so a discussion for change of meeting time, day and time?
Oh, yes, I see that you have concerns, so let's talk about them. So basically, we were meeting at 8:30 Monday mornings at the request of a particular board member who was on the board for quite some time. And it was, everybody was beautiful about honoring that. Staff, now that that board member is no longer on the board, she has retired from her years and years of service. We are suggesting that there may be other times that are primarily, let's just say this, more convenient to folks who might wish to be on this agenda. Maybe traveling from out of town, may have an attorney coming to represent them in this way. And so that's the primary concern, but we have identified some potential time slots to use instead and would like to offer those up to the board members because it also has to be convenient for you folks.
Let's hear them.
So let me pull this up.
Let's hear them.
2 o'clock tea.
What was that?
I said 2 o'clock tea.
Does that mean I have to cook?
Just cooking.
If I can do cookies. Okay, so in front of you, let's make this a little bigger. Nope, that's not what we want.
I saw some times there. There we go.
I can't even read them.
2 p.m. on Tuesday?
So these are in order of staff's suggestion. I'd love to start at A, and if that doesn't work for somebody, let's move on and see if we can't find a consensus, a time that'll work for everybody. 2 p.m. has been desired by multiple parties in the past as easier for potential applicants to be here for. A lot of them who have to travel. So there are 2 p.m.s offered. The other shift is to, there are a couple different shifts. Right now, this approval happens, and then most of the time, not everything, but for most of the time, it then has to go to the city commission, which is almost a full month away. So we're trying to shift this meeting a little bit closer to the center of the month, too. So that was a consideration as well. And you'll see at the bottom, March's meeting, we already have at least one party who has provided letters to abutting property owners for that particular date, so we're going to have to stick with that date to accommodate.
So we're looking for April.
We're really looking for April.
Are you looking for us to vote for either A or B option?
A, B, C, or D, but the, we'd ask that you consider the higher or the lower, however that works, the letters first, like A, and then if that doesn't work, maybe consider B, and then move on to C.
And why was a Thursday an option?
Why was Thursday an option?
Yeah.
Because the
Well,
city,
and originally Thursday morning was also going to be an option, so you would have had a 10 and a 2, but there are 80 people who participate in, I think it's a Silver Sneakers Zumba class, and they put weights down, and apparently we wouldn't be able to concentrate, is what I'm told. So Thursday morning was on this list, but it got pulled off, and we're left with Thursday afternoon.
And Wendy's more convenient for the city council?
I didn't
mean it that way, what I meant.
Put out to them as to what's convenient for them, because really what's more important are the people who are going to be in the room.
You want this to flow, what we do flows right into what they do.
yeah.
Correct.
So you don't want it to be like 3 weeks later.
a shortened amount of time, but not so short that we can't
They
properly.
meet on 6 o'clock on the first Tuesday of the month.
I'm sorry?
They meet on the first Tuesday of the month.
First Tuesday at
6 o'clock.
6 p.m., correct, correct. And so right now, we're meeting on the Monday, typically directly after that, and then there's this gap
Yeah.
before it
Yeah,
goes to
understood.
the-
So if we meet the Monday and then they meet the Tuesday, that sort of brings it together.
But then, well, if we meet a little closer to the middle of the month, it's less time for an applicant to wait before they take that next step, which is city commission, but it's also, it also gives time to prepare properly for that city commission meeting, because like today, there are a number of changes that will be made to that ordinance before being renoticed and then presented to the city commission.
So there's not a staff recommendation?
The staff's recommendation would be in the choices you're given.
Yes.
Staff has already weighed in. We've got IT, we've got the city clerk, we have our city attorney, and then typically the director and myself. Staff has already weighed in generating this list, and now they're being offered to you by, any of these could work, but staff is asking that you first consider A and/or B.
C would be best.
Let's see.
C would be best.
See?
That's the,
Well, C,
Jerry, and you okay with any of those?
Yes, sir.
All right.
C gets you closer to the middle of the month.
I'm a pretty happy assistant.
Oh.
Are you
Siri.
Siri wants to weigh in.
Don't you hate when Siri does that?
To mention, we can also keep Monday at 8:30. This is really the best for all of you. We don't have to change.
And D-
I hate to say it, but I got
D
kind of
is-
used to it, and you guys, it's more important for you. I think we retirees are a little different than you guys.
D is allowing for today, just bumping it by an hour and a half to 10 a.m. instead of 8:30.
That too. Okay with either C or D.
Hey, what are you doing?
I'm flexible.
Yaya's at 2? Yes. Yes, they keep it the same if you want.
That's why I was asking what was the staff recommendation, because I'm fine either way. Just, you get used to it. I'm a kind of individual I like the pattern.
Yes, no, I understand completely. When I first realized they were at 8:30 on a Monday morning, I went, what?
But then you
But
get
now
used to
being
it.
in the habit.
If you
However,
want to keep it, I'm sorry, Glenn, if you want to keep it on Monday, moving it to 10 would help out-of-county applicants who are trying to get through.
Okay, so that's
D.
what I was looking to ask you.
D?
Which one is your recommendation?
So now it's which Monday do you want? We can do 10 a.m. any Monday.
So does the third Monday work better for the commission meeting or the second Monday? It's my question, and I think Mr. Lilly's question, because we're trying to coordinate with the city commission meeting and make it easier for everyone involved.
the third Monday gets the applicant to more of a middle point, so they're not waiting 3 weeks for their next step, which is the next information meeting. The second Monday, where we are now, is a little bit, it's allowing a longer time period where you have to wait. The third Monday still gives time to prepare for the city commission meeting. but is
We
less
hear you.
than-
That's what I was asking for staff recommendation. All right, so can we go down for a vote? Chuck, you want to start? What is your vote?
I recommend the 10 o'clock slot on Monday.
D, B, C, or D?
I guess B.
No, C or D?
C or D.
C or D, I'm sorry. C would be.
And that's the one that staff kind of agrees on, the third Monday, correct?
It's a little bit, yes, a little
Yeah.
bit less of a delay to
All right.
get to the city commission.
All right.
That works.
No, go. I think you need
C.
to. C?
C.
C? C, C, C in Spanish, C.
I abstain.
Okay, well, it looks like we have a consensus to switching to the third Monday at 10 a.m.
All righty. Please, when you send the email, we clarify on that, because we need reminders exactly at what time. And the next one on March 9th, please remind us, is still set at 8:30.
March 9th is definitely still 8:30, because that's what
I've
has.
got on my calendars for all you
Yeah.
for today.
What's that?
I've already got to change all my calendar dates.
Oh, you're good. Maybe you could change everybody else's, including mine.
All
I
right.
appreciate it, everyone.
No, thank you for bringing that up. I think what we're trying to do is make everything work efficiently and seamless. All right, any questions or concerns? Anybody has any questions?
Mr. Chair, I have one more announcement.
Yes.
We will be assigning all of you a city email.
You would what?
We are assigning all of the board members a city email.
Oh,
Okay. We had hoped to have that in place today. It should be ready by later this week. The email will be the first letter of your first name, and then your entire last name at cityofdbs.org. Just like
Just
staff
like the
emails.
council, yeah.
So J. Lilly, R. Lavange, C. Pollard, C. Desai, C. Horian at cityofdbs.org.
so is there a filter that comes with that, and who is responsible? Is there a pre-individual that sees it, or does it come straight to us? And then steps in order to, if we get any, emails, what steps should we take? If there's any, I like to have a format to find out what our procedures will be.
So we'll be using it to send you the agenda
Okay?
and meeting reminders,
All right?
or anything else of importance board related. Okay, we will not be sending you just spam or scam intentionally.
But it also wouldn't be appropriate for us to provide your email to an applicant, say.
Okay. Okay, that's, my question was, then our email is gonna come up on the city website and people can send us email, or is it only gonna be for internal use?
I'm not really. I think it's most appropriate that it be for internal use.
Yeah.
But it's a public record. You're a board member, everything you do is in the public. So if we're asked for it, we have to.
My only concern is that if we can have guidelines for this, I'm sure there are city guidelines that indicates the appropriate emails and what's not appropriate, and what steps to take if we get inappropriate emails, or what steps to take if we get, I'm sure there's internal guidelines to that, and if you could share that with us.
Our IT manager, who's not available this morning,
Okay.
will be providing.
It just would be good, and I think legal will appreciate that, because if we need to have some guidelines, being if we have in the city procedure on emails.
Okay. So we're also providing that because we will be moving you towards the board platform for Civic Clerk. So in the future, you will be able to see the agendas right on the computers in front of you. You'll be able to view it at home. You'll log in to Civic Clerk. We'll provide you a login. You'll choose your own password for our program. That way, when I send out the meeting notice, you can log in at home, preview everything. Instead of looking at it through your personal email in Word, you'll be using it through the program that I utilize.
Can I have a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
Is there any way that we can have a 15-minute class on this?
Absolutely, we will.
Okay.
Once we're ready to go, we will do that.
Okay.
We'll hold the meeting first, regular, and then we'll have a short training
Perfect.
session at the end.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank
But
you.
that's my goal, is to get you to using the Civic Clerk platform. That way you can make notes on things, you can write down questions. So when we get to the meeting, everything's right here for you.
And this is going to be rolled out when?
Next couple months. I'm going to get you the emails first.
That means June.
You're,
Be more optimistic.
No, just let us know, because,
Oh, absolutely.
so for the next 2 months, anticipate the same system that we're having now.
Yes, sir.
And we should not really reply to all, we should reply only to Sherry.
Correct. You should always do that. You should never reply all.
Thank you. Just wanted to verbalize that, making sure that everybody understands that.
I think it would be appropriate to have a best practices for that kind of
Yes.
an email. What if you do get an applicant? request or something.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly, that's my whole point. Yeah. You want to make sure that we have the do's and don'ts and what to do, contact, is Sherry the person, or the IT person, or Gwen, or who should we reply, or?
We'll put that in the best practices.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I have two things, too.
Yeah.
It is a very active legislation session, which concludes, typically, if it's typical, it'll conclude March 13th. And then, so by April, and possibly in March if it's appropriate, but by April, we should have a synopsis of any changes that were made, any changes that didn't pass but were prominently considered, that kind of thing. So we do expect to have that on the agenda. And then I also wanted to say that I hope to see everybody tonight at the Board Appreciation Dinner.
Thank you.
Just one question. That going to have any effect on ex parte communications?
Good point.
If you reply all, it might.
Sure. So the main consideration with ex parte communications is any kind of items that may come before the board. So the Sunshine Law really focuses on everyone on this board speaking to each other outside of session, because the goal is transparency. So if someone, as an individual, emails you with a request about an application, the major consideration is you should not be speaking to each other about the application. You also should refrain from responding to the individual until the appropriate channels have been followed, and that will be put into the best practices policy. And if anything ever happens that confuses you or makes you uncertain about Sunshine Law or ethics, you can always reach out to me. I don't know if you have my individual email address, but I'm happy to give it to you before we leave, if that would be helpful.
Sherry, if you could add that, because I think we had, I had the old lawyers, but not yours. You can send us that.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
thank you. Those are the two items you were going to say?
Yep, but
Right.
you want me to make up a third?
Well, just by next meeting, because I think a lot of us are curious to find out, because in the last 2 years, we've approved 5 condos and 1 hotel, and we haven't seen any construction. We've seen work on the lots and seawalls, but we haven't seen any construction. And we would like to, I would like to see an update on what's going on. And it's my understanding that the state gave the permits an additional limitation, and I have no idea what that is and what the whole aspect is.
Just a quick overview, many development orders were extended into 2029.
All the way to 2029?
Yes, the amount of time, it's a whole formula. It's dependent upon how much time they had left when the order is first established, but up to 48 months. And because of the number of times that the governor's order was extended, most were able to take advantage of that additional 48 months. So 2029 is the extended out date for many of our developers. We have been actively reviewing the 3411 South Atlantic Avenue project.
It's the one across from Burger King?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And so we have issued our second round of comments and expect a resubmission for hopeful approval by staff, and then to bring it before you any day now, basically. We expect that next submission. So it's a winnowed list of comments. They're, from what I understand, working on those actively, and we expect that submission any day.
Because,
Others are taking advantage at this time of that extension.
well, does that include the demolition of those individual homes that's right across from Mad Dog Surf?
Yes, there was
Because
no requirement to demo them by a date certain, and so they are continuing to utilize that property the way that it exists right now, until they decide to move forward.
Because I saw the plot of land across that we also approved, it had a for sale sign.
We have noticed that as well.
Well, what does that mean?
It's for sale.
It can mean a lot of things.
I know. But just, if part of the presentation at the end, if we can get an update, it will be appreciative, because we approve stuff, and then we don't hear anything about it afterwards, and then we don't see it. It'll be a nice aspect to add at the end of our meetings. Does everybody agree?
I have learned on this committee and with code enforcement too, that if you approve something like the 3411, and they've got 4 years to do it, they can sell that property, because that's basically what they're there to do, is sell it, sell the idea, because it's already been approved.
Right.
And that's what they're doing, and that's what the big one did up here on the, what was it, Treasure Island was, or whatever that big piece of property is on the north end of town. It's been for sale for like 2 years since we approved it.
I don't want to speculate what any individual property owner is doing, but I certainly can provide the dates and where things stand with regard to staff, submissions to staff, et cetera.
Now, would that be something that could be an update on an email? That they can say that, a summary update, or does it have to be part of the meeting?
I don't know if I can advise on any specific hypotheticals without context.
I request, if you'd like, if this is acceptable to everybody, that we do it on a quarterly basis at the end of a meeting, so that you know when to expect it, so that it's out, because if you're having these questions, there are probably other people who are having them as well in the community.
I think that's an excellent suggestion.
Are we referring to situations where the staff would be updating the board on development, not on individuals in the community
Yeah.
attempting to update the board on the development? Okay. I think that it's still appropriate for the staff, like you said, to do it at meetings rather than by emails for transparency purposes, because people in the community are going to want to have those updates as well.
Okay, I'm fine, once a quarter, it's a great idea. Put it on your folder for once a quarter and then present it to us, that'd be awesome. Thank you. Okay, any other questions or concerns? Well, that's the case, meeting adjourned.